should be voice. By the way that it sounds. Give me one moment. Think it picks up my voice. I think think we're ready though. Welcome back. You're now riding with the where. Gonna be trying this live streaming thing, man. I don't know how this is gonna work. I don't I don't intend to live stream everything that I do on this channel because I just want to upload my gameplay vids, only solely, right? But when it comes to giving my thoughts, I think I may live stream. I think I may do it. I'll see how I go. Cause I got a lot to say. I guess when it comes to like sharing my opinions, which is all good and fine, but I guess I'll see how I go because I can't, like I said before, some of the past vids I did do recording while I was playing. I can't just play while I'm talking. Like, I can't do it. It's just so hard for me to do. I just can't do it at all, really. So I have to really concentrate. Especially if I want to get like a good run or a run to my best ability. When it comes to Sonic games, I'm not really like a speed runner or anything like that. But I try to at least be competent, decent at best. When it comes to most Sonic games, that is. So, but yeah, I just want to get my thoughts on Sonic 2 for the Sega Genesis because I recently, not recently, but I say months ago, I recently got done, with Sonic 1. I was covering that because I did like that game twice. I think one with the first playthrough I did of it, and then I did it again with just me going over the game itself. Or should I say me going over the game itself from my gameplay, which was like post. I want to say, yeah, you could say post commentary. And the first one I did was live commentary while I actually was talking while I was playing. But I realized both of those wasn't, good for me to do because, I don't know. I just rather like just record the gameplay and post that solely instead of just doing post commentary on a video and then going through it slowly. I'd rather just do that in a live stream or something like that after I upload the gameplay, to my channel. So that's kind of how I want to handle that, So with that being said, let me check. Let me check right fast. Give me 1 moment. I just had to check inside my PC for a minute because just want to make sure everything is right with that. But yeah, with that being said, though, yeah, I just want to give my quick thoughts. I don't want to make this stream too long. I don't intend to be screaming for too long though, unless like I get caught up or something like that, or people start commenting, or someone finds this, whatever the case may be. But with that being said, let me get the music going so I can just talk about this game, to the best of my ability. All this is off the cuff, so no script, no pre-preparing, no getting ready. This is just all off the top of my head, how I feel about the game, if that makes sense to me. So yeah, I guess why I be doing this, I'll just be going through the video of my gameplay that I already uploaded and just giving my thoughts on each specific segment. I think that's the best way I want to handle it. I think, with all the games I want to cover at least or talk about, again, I don't attend to stream for too long unless someone like starts commenting or whatever the case may be and all that. But yeah, let me just get the music going and get this straight right here. Let me just see. Alright, the audio. I hope it's not too loud though. Hopefully my voice is much louder than the music itself. I hope that it is. It should be though, you know. Yeah, it should be much louder than what it is. But yeah, like I said, I wanna try this live streaming thing. You know, again, I don't intend to do this for every little video that I do or every little like thing I do on this channel, because I just solely want to upload my gameplay, right? So I think that's the best way I want to do it. But I may live stream from time to time if I feel like it, a certain game or a certain Sonic game, I should say. If I feel like doing it for whatever reason, even if I already covered it, you know, not like the full game, but maybe some levels or something. If I want to get into an opinion or what my thoughts or anything like that, you know. But yeah. Now, due to how my setup is, I can't have the mic directly in front of me due to like how my setup currently is at the moment. So if I sound far away or too close to it, I'm trying to, you know, get this right as I can, the best way I can at this specific time. So I just want to make sure that that's right on that. Let me just make sure the audio is right, because it's coming out of my speaker, so it's not actually from my computer. It's coming strictly from my stereo. So give me one moment. Let me check this out. It should be fine. Ugh, should be fine. All right. Well, yeah. Then let me just press this. Yeah, it should be good now. Should be good. Should be good. All right. So yeah, this is the recording gameplay that I did of Sonic 2. That I did of Sonic 2. Let me try to get right in front of it. Because again, due to like how my setup, let me actually pause this. How my setup is at the moment, I can't just have the mic directly in front of me. So I can't have it directly in front of me. But yeah, Sonic 2. I played this a lot. Actually, I played this a lot as a kid. Um, when I was a kid, that is, back in like 2010-ish, 2011, but 2010 to be specific, on an emulator. And hold on, let me mute this audio here, because I don't want this playing over it. Okay. All right. So yeah, I played this as a kid though. Back in 2010, I must say. And the first way I experienced these classic games, like I said in my videos, was through Kega Fusion. Back in the 5th grade, it was around the same time that I discovered the greatest 3D Sonic game of all time, which is Heroes, and the original greatest 3D Sonic game of all time, Adventure 1. You know, and from that time period on, I've been playing the classic games in many different ways. Now, this all happened back in the 5th grade, specifically in the 5th grade. And what I mean by that is actually in the classroom, you know, when I found out about all these games and I downloaded them onto one of the computers in the classroom. So that's my first experience with a full-fledged Sonic game, or you know, something like that, if you want to call it that. So, but yeah, like, with that being said though, yeah, I gotta get used to this screaming stuff because I don't know what to say, man. I gotta think of what to say. Hopefully I get used to it though. But after I found out about it, I played the classes in many different ways after that. It was on Kega Fusion, you know, on school computers. Then I actually got the Mega Collection on my father's PS2 during that time, like back in 2010. I was only 10 at the time, so, you know, probably could imagine how old I am now. But, you know, I played them on the Wii Virtual Console. I bought them on there. I had them on my uncle's PSP. And what other way did I play the classics? I think those are all the four ways I played the classic games was through Kega Fusion, the Mega Collection, plus on the PS2, the Wii Virtual Console, and on the PSP Sega Collection, whatever you call that collection on the PSP. You know, I forgot the name of it by heart, but I played the classic games in many different ways. But my first way was in the fifth grade classroom, in one of the classrooms. I think it was math class or something. And I downloaded Kega Fusion for the first time, learned how to work an emulator for the first time, and that's how I found out about the classic games, was in that classroom on that computer, and that's how I started playing the classics, you know. And I wasn't even using save states by that point. I didn't even know what they were, so you know, I was struggling through these games, like, you know, back then, kept gaming over and all of that. But that's my, again, quick rundown. Again, if you know, if no one ever watched the videos that I did of my Sonic 1 playthrough, where I was playing all this and repeated myself a lot of times. But to make a long story short, but let me actually run this back again, because I was just yapping about, again, how I found out about these classic games and how I first started playing them. But you know, um also also I was using keyboard. I was only using keyboard. I was just using the keyboard, so I wasn't really I didn't have a controller when I first played these on those school computers on Kega Fusion, you know, and I got used to it. Like, that's how I first beat Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Knuckles. I didn't know about CD at the time until like a year after that, right? So, and then I learned how to emulate that on the Kega Fusion emulator, because I know the 2011 PC port, I think, came out a year later, but I wasn't able to get that at the time because I didn't even know what Steam was, I don't think. So, you know, but yeah. So that's my experience with the classic games. Sonic 2, with this game here, though, in particular, I do think that this is the best controlling 2D Sonic game. And what I mean by that is in terms of how Sonic feels to move around, how Sonic feels to control, how Sonic feels to just play as in this game. I think it's the best controlling 2D Sonic game in the series. I'm talking classic, I'm talking modern, and I'm talking, you know, and when I say modern, I mean like the advanced games, Rush, and all of that stuff. And then I'm talking like the Sonic 4 games included. And I think this even feels better to control than Mania. But maybe that may be on par with this. I'm not sure, because I haven't played Mania in a long time. So, because I only beat the game once. I only beat the game one time. I need to play it more, actually. So, because I do want to upload my gameplay of that too eventually, or soon, or whenever I get to it. But yeah, I'm gonna even include Knuckles Chaotix in this, because I played that too back then on the Kega Fusion emulator when I found out about all the classic games, you know. But that's a story for a whole nother time, though. But yeah, this is the best controlling 2D Sonic game, though, in my opinion. It just gets everything right in terms of how Sonic feels to control and move around. Emerald Hill, um, a great, and I mean a great, or should I say a goated opening stage for, I would say, any 2D Sonic game. Is better than Angel Island and Sonic 3. It's better than Green Hill Zone and Sonic 1. It's just a great opener for a Sonic stage. I say the only thing that probably would rival it to me is probably Leaf Storm and Rush or something. If we're talking just 2D Sonic games in general, or Neo Green Hill Zone and Sonic Advance 1, you know, which was my favorite Advance game, by the way, as well. But yeah, great opening stage. Chemical Plant, the same thing, man. Just the first three zones in this game are just, you know, it's goated. What more can I say about that, you know? Now, when I think about 2D Sonic games, everyone has their own like mind when it comes to it. Some people like 2D Sonic, some people don't like 2D Sonic. I think there's even people that even just prefer 2D Sonic and don't like 3D Sonic, you know. So I think it just really depends. I think, you know. So, but yeah, like that's my opening thoughts on just my opening thoughts, you know. Um, I want to make this a quick thoughts stream because like I don't really tend to stream that long unless I'm probably playing something, right? This is just giving my quick thoughts on Sonic 2. Um, One thing I will say is, again, as I explained in Sonic 1, these classic Sonic games, I like, the modern ones in certain ways, was purely based on pinball physics and momentum, right? So you can use that to get to higher places if you know how to either spin dash and jump or just keep your momentum and jump a lot. Especially like in stages like Green Hill and Sonic 1 is a perfect example of doing that. Emerald Hill and some stages in Sonic 2 as well. I want to say Chemical Plant is a first is a good example of doing that though. I don't think Chemical Plant is a good example of doing that because you're just rolling a lot in this stage, so you don't really have a chance to you know bounce, jump, or do anything like that to keep your pace up with the momentum and speed you gain. You know what I mean? From a reward of knowing how to use it. I mean, knowing how to use it, and abuse it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, with this zone though, man, but you can, use your momentum to get to higher places like that, or like I tried to do just there, like, it can be done. I don't think I did it on this particular run, or did I do it? I'm not even sure. Let me see here because I think nope, I can't now. I don't think I had enough height to do it, but you can do it though. It is possible. I did it before in this certain area, but I didn't do it in this run. I don't think so. So, but you know, and that killed me there. I forgot they even killed me there. But yeah, I didn't even get a checkpoint. That's crazy. But yeah, what other things I want to say about this game though that I can think of? I love the soundtrack, but I think personally my favorite 2D Sonic game soundtrack still goes to CD. If that makes sense, I think it either goes to CD or Sonic 3. One of those games in terms of my favorite 2D Sonic game soundtrack. Those are probably like in my top two. But tier lists are a thing for another time. If I ever would do something like that. You know. What else must I say when it comes to this game here? It is it's I would say it's more on a difficult side, but it's not that hard. Again, if you played any Sonic game, it can't be that hard. But again, I know there's younger people that's playing the games now. That's probably only used to how the games are now, or probably hasn't even touched 2D Sonic or even older 2D Sonic. So like this or Sonic 1 or something like that. So it's a whole different thing. And I'm using an emulator for this, so so when I was recording this gameplay before I uploaded it, I wasn't playing this through like the modern ports of the game, like the Origins or even like the Mega Collection or the Gems Collection. I'm playing this strictly from Kega Fusion, so no save states and no lives. Not no lives. No, you see the lives. No save states. No crutches, just a straight game, because that's how I first played them, on the emulator way back then. So, but yeah, that is that. Regarding, I would say, what would I say my favorite boss in this game would be, in terms of Eggman fight. I don't know. Maybe I just probably go with. I love this boss here. Obviously it's nostalgia for me, but I love this boss here though. But I think probably the Death Egg boss, the final boss in this game is probably my favorite one overall though. Period. All the other ones you can just spam them. I do like the casino night one though, because you can use your spin dash to just bounce on top of them and get a lot of hits on them if you know how to do it correctly. I do like that one as well. But yeah, what more could I say? And I'm not gonna just go through like every specific zone. I just want to have quick thoughts on this. So why I do this, and I actually need to take a little sip of my drink, because my mouth is getting dry from all this talking, So But yeah, what more could I say, man? Sonic 2. I now in terms of like, or you know what? Actually, no. I'm gonna save that like before I end it off. I'm gonna save my final like my thoughts of what I think about this game overall. Before that, but yeah. Let me exit out of here though, because I actually want to talk about one specific thing with this game though that a lot of people seem to, I guess don't like or whatever. And let me go to it actually. Let me go to it. Go back to my channel. It should be right here. And that is, if I can skip up to it. That is Metropolis Zone. Now this zone here, I want to give my quick thoughts on it because a lot of people, they tend to not like this zone. They tend to think it's, you know, I would say it's mostly because of the slicers, which I do understand. They don't have the best placement in this zone, but this is one of the best zones in this game, specifically the first two acts. The same way I think about Scrap Brain Zone, because again, if Scrap Brain Zone only had just two acts in Sonic 1, it probably would have been the best stage in that game to me personally. So and the same thing with this. I don't know why they added a third act. I know why they did it, because obviously I think it was some unused zone that they was gonna go with or something like that, and it got scrapped. But yeah, this should have been two acts, for this zone here, just like the rest of the game. Because the three acts thing never bothered me, but I would say the two acts it has the perfect flow. Obviously, the greatest 3D Sonic game of all time did it, which is Heroes. Two acts, boss. This game also does it. And I think that is the optimal flow. I don't mind the three acts, but at times, it can get a little bit, I'm gonna say stale, because I love, I also have nostalgia love for Sonic 1, like obviously I do. So I wouldn't say the word stale, but like, at times you feel like, oh, I just feel like you want to move on to the next zone when I'm playing Sonic 1. So that's like how I feel about the acts thing. Like, yeah, I think two acts is just the best way to do it. And flow wise, if that makes sense, or something like that. So, but yeah, aside from that though, aside from this zone, should have had just two acts. The slicers, if you know how to avoid them, they're not. This zone is not that bad at all. This is actually a go-to zone in this game. It's one of my favorite zones in this game. There's higher paths that you can get, and that's like a whole lot of discussion for another thing that I want to do too. Because again, Sonic games are very easy to get into, but again, like as I seen some people say, like the skill ceiling is there if you want to get to it. Like Sonic Team always made Sonic games to, if you just want to play through them casually and get through them and beat the levels or whatever the case may be, you can do that. But they design most Sonic game stages around, again, higher routes, higher paths, and all of that stuff if you know how to get to them and if you know how to do it properly, right? So, and you can play how you want. It's nothing wrong with if you just want to play casually. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just there's a specific skill ceiling and then there's a casual ceiling. Which one the player wants to be is up to them. But me personally, I like the challenge of getting to the higher routes and all that stuff in Sonic games. So I like doing that. I like learning. I like replaying the stages and all that stuff when I play these games. So I don't mind doing that, if that makes sense. But if you get the higher routes in Metropolis Zone specifically, and you could say this about every other zone in the series most of the time, I should say, except a few games, but I'm not gonna mention those. But for the most part, if you get the higher routes in some of the zones, the lower route won't punish you as much, because I think Sonic games, most of them was mostly built around, you got your high path, you got your middle path, which is the standard one, then you got the lower path, which is the path where, if you fall from the middle path, you go down to the lower path, and that's the path that punishes you, right? For not but not being good at the game, obviously, right? So, and I think most Sonic levels always did this. Even in '06, it does. It's a perfect example of that is Kingdom Valley. Like a perfect example of that. And that's a 3D Sonic game, right? I can mention many of them, but I'm just mentioning that specific one because, um, you know, I watched when I was playing with, you know, my girl, and she's not that good at Sonic games, but I seen her go to the lower path in Kingdom Valley, and I never knew it was the lower path because I never got down there before. So like, but this is just the stage design in the series that's always been, ever since the early '90s, if that makes sense. So, um, so yeah, I just want to get that out the way. Like, even in Scrap Brain Zone and Sonic One, if you get to the higher path, if you take the top routes, the higher path, you can avoid most of the stuff on the bottom route. Now, don't get me wrong, in Scrap Brain Zone, the higher path is still challenging, which it should be, right, for a Sonic game, But I'm just saying that the higher paths are mostly the faster ones that you would want to take, if that makes sense. But it all depends on your skill level and do you know how to get to them and do you even want to get to them if that's what you're aiming for or you just want to play casually. So and Mario games are mostly built different from this way, and I'm not trying to make this a video about that. That's a whole nother discussion, that I just summed up in a quick form with that whole thing there. But my point is with Metropolis Zone, if you get to the higher routes, if you get to the higher paths, um you will avoid most of the slower routes of Metropolis. And I didn't know this as a kid back then, cause I always thought, oh, it's a higher path up there. Oh, it's cool, but I didn't think it really mattered, right? But then as I got older, I started to understand more how Sonic level design really works, especially in the older games. And yeah, it really does make a difference which path you take and if you know how to take it or not, depending on your skill set. So, you know, I just wanted to get that out the way before I show this zone off. But I love Metropolis though. Again, I played this countless times since I was a kid. So yes, I'm not expecting a new person to automatically know how to avoid the bad slicers, locations, whether where they place them in this zone a lot. But what I will say though is, if you replay it more and you kind of get it, this zone ain't that bad in terms of avoiding the slicers and getting to the top paths to avoid most of the slow bottom route. Because I could say the bottom route is bad, but I know this zone in particular, the bottom routes are the slower paths in this particular zone. So you always want to stick to the top one if you can, if you know how to do it, that is, So, and some people may say like, oh, replaying like the stages aren't fun, or if you got to do that to have fun, then it's not really fun, right? I seen some people say that, and why I may see what they're saying. Sonic games have always mostly again been built around that, so that kind of defeats the purpose of playing a Sonic game. Even the classic games follow the same format of replaying the games over and over again to understand the stages. Because even in Green Hill Zone and Sonic 1, there's higher paths you can get to that you most likely will not on your first time. You just won't do it. You know what I'm saying? So all Sonic games, mostly all of them, are built around the sense of replayability, if that makes sense. Mostly all of them. The ones with the ranking and the ones that don't have them at all. Just due to how Sonic level design is and how different it is from, so to say, a Mario or Donkey Kong or any other platformer that's out there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm not saying I don't like those, because I actually, really like Mario, obviously, and I like Donkey Kong. But the difference is you got to understand, when it comes to Sonic, it's just always been different, So, but yeah, like, as you see this path here, like, I think this is the top path. I think this is the top path. So it's just like really just knowing how to avoid the slicers. You can keep a lot of rings in the zone if you learn how to if you learn how to avoid them. Obviously, I didn't keep a lot of rings as a kid because I used to get hit by them. But after I got older and replayed the game even more and more, I kind of just understood how to avoid the slicers, so it wasn't really that bad for me, after a certain point of time. But again, all this comes with experience and replaying the games. So that's how I see that. Um, a perfect example of what I mean will probably be, is it this? Is it this act? I think it is, because you can go right there, but if you choose left, you get the higher path here. If you avoid that slicer there, you won't get hit. But yeah, like it's just a perfect, like it gives you two ways you can go. You can either go the right path or the left path. But this path is the top path, but it's much more faster if you know how to, stay on it. That is, because you can't fall off it, obviously. So, but yeah, that's that's what I want to explain there when it comes to like just the different paths. You know, everything else is basically just Metropolis. What more could I say? It's a goated zone. The music is goated. I love this zone. I can replay it many times and not get bored of it. I don't hate it because again, what I just explained and like yeah, Metropolis. So, but yeah, I don't really have no more thoughts though when it comes to this game in particular. Though, and I could talk about the final boss, but I really don't have no reason to really say anything about it. I mean, it's the Death Egg robot. Pretty sure many people has died on it their first times playing it. Or many times playing it. For their first time or something. I gamed over on the Death Egg robot a lot. When I first played this when I was 10. So, you know, yeah, I got a lot of painful experiences with that. But yeah, I think that's all I gotta say about Sonic 2 though. I guess the final thing I can say though is this is what a sequel should be. It did it. This game does everything that Sonic 1 did and does it way better, basically. In a whole more complete package. Like what more could I say? Like hardly no cut corners, except for the third act in this zone here. But other than that, no cut corners, no, you know, no, I would say like just bad, design of anything, if that makes sense, because you could tell in Sonic 1 they were still experimenting on what Sonic should be. Should it be more of a slow-paced platformer like Mario with zones like Marble Zone or Spring Yard Zone, or should it be more fast-paced pinball physics like Green Hill, Starlight Zone, and all of that stuff? Like they were still experimenting with Sonic 1, so I don't I don't give Sonic 1 flat for that because I know it's the first time they worked on a Sonic game. It was experimenting what worked, what didn't work, and with this game they figure it out. That it should be fully pinball physics based. This what will differ it from Super Mario World, which I think came out a year before this. Actually, I think this is 1992, right? So, um, and they just figure it out by this game. They just figured it all out in terms of what makes a Sonic game, right? So yeah, that's really all I have to really say when it comes to that. This game is basically Sonic 1, but just better, basically in every way possible, and like that same thought process should be applied to today. But that's a whole nother discussion that I would want to have for another time though. So you know, um, but yeah, like well, where do I rank this game or place this game or what do I feel about it? I I don't I think from how I feel, I think this game should be. I think this game should be for me either it's either better than Sonic 3, and that's hard to say because I love Sonic 3 as well, just like I love this game, but and I do have nostalgia for them as well, but that's two different things. Also, that's not the same thing because everyone says nostalgia, but that's literally two different things. You know what I mean? But again, whole nother topic. that I don't want to get into tonight while I'm screaming this right here. But got knock that down there. Ugh. Um, but I think though, I think in execution and flow of this game, I think in terms of stages, I could probably say this is better than Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but also I think it's on par with Sonic 3 and Knuckles though. That's the thing. I'm kind of conflicted because like there's things that this game does, but the flow is just perfect. It has one of the best openings for any 2D Sonic game period in terms of Emerald Hill Zone. It's better than Angel Island and Sonic 3. It's better than Green Hill. And when I say that, I'm not talking just purely music or aesthetics. I'm talking level design, because that's what matters the most to me when I play Sonic games. Some people may prefer story. Some people may prefer gameplay. Some people may just prefer control, right, or whatever. Like I prefer level design and control. Those are the two things that matter the most to me when it comes to a Sonic game. Obviously, I love Sonic as a character. I'm not saying that that's not a thing, but you know, but the two things that matter to me when it comes to a Sonic game is how the game feels to control and the levels. Or a case like in Frontiers aspect, the open zone, right? Since that's like I guess gonna be a standard. I'm assuming they don't change it, but it's gonna be a standard, right? So that what matters to me. Either the open zone / level design or controls. Those are the two things that will matter to me in a Sonic game. So mostly first and foremost. Um, Everything else like music, story, that comes like third, fourth to me personally. But everyone is different, right? So that's just how um I just rank the things that I love or look at the things that I like or what I don't like. That's how I rate it, if that makes sense. So um yeah, I don't know, like it could be better than Sonic 3 in certain areas. It is better than Sonic 3 in terms of just stages, flow, all of that. In certain ways it is, but then in certain ways I love Sonic 3 on the same type of level as this game. So I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. That's a hard one for me personally. But I think what I will say though is in certain ways this game is better than Sonic 3. And one of those ways is movement and control, when you're just rolling Sonic around, with the pinball and momentum physics that obviously these games used to have in this series. But again, whole nother topic, right? So um but in other ways, I feel that Sonic 3, I want to say, is better than this, but I would say on par with it in terms of how I perceive or how I view these games. So that's really that. Um, so yeah, better than Sonic 3 in certain ways, but also on par with Sonic 3 or vice versa, right? Sonic 3 on par with this in certain ways. Could say Sonic 3 is better than in certain ways as well. you know. But yeah, but yeah, that's one of my other videos I did like months ago, I think. Um, but yeah, I just want to end it though. I think I've been yapping for too long. I don't think I got any comments yet, so I don't think I'm gonna be hold for too long. Um, like I said, I don't want to make these streams long. I do want to do it more, but when it comes to just my gameplay, I just want to upload that and just keep that like that. And what if I want to give my thoughts or gameplay or something, then that's why I, ramble on about whatever I'm talking about, or from just screaming in game or something. That's when I may do it more longer or something like that. So that's the difference, and how I think I want to do this. You know, I think if I do it more though, I think it'll be more natural for me. It's not natural for me now at all. So, my voice is getting real tired, and my mouth is getting dry as hell. I just drank some water. My mouth is still getting dry, man. I don't know why, but I. I don't really talk that much either like that unless I have to. So maybe that got something to do with it. I'm not a natural talker, you know. So, but I do have thoughts, right? And I do love this series. So, you know, that's something I do want to share. Whether people find it or not, that's up to, you know, that's up to happenings, right? So, you know, uh, yeah. That's all I want to say about Sonic 2. The best controlling 2D Sonic game in the series, and um, better than Sonic 3 in some ways, but also empowered Sonic 3 in some ways. To me, this is all my opinion. So everyone may have different opinions than me, but that's how I feel. So, um, and yeah, I love this game, and you know, it always will remain a instant classic. You know, for me in terms of a Sonic game. You know, what more could I say? You know, I found out about it in the 5th grade along with the other classics at the same time, and that's how I was emulating these games back in the 5th grade in class. You know, I wasn't even doing my work. You know, like I was playing Sonic. You know, and I was playing the classic games, emulating them in the class. You know, so I got started with this, man, and yeah, like this is the real deal for me, man, and it always has been. You know, so uh, for the past over a decade now. You know, since I was just a 10-year-old little guy back then. You know, so but yeah. Next time, um, I don't know what I want to do. I think that if I do Scream again, I probably would do some gameplay, or it'll be my CD, giving my quick thoughts on that. You know, um, but I have to upload the gameplay first. I already recorded a lot of CD. I already finished that, so I'm gonna go for all the good features with that. So when I do that game, and I have a lot of thoughts when it comes to CD as well, obviously. But yeah, I just want to upload my gameplay of that next, and then maybe scream my thoughts on it, or maybe just scream a game if I feel like it or something for a little bit. I don't know, but yeah. But I think that is all that I got to say. Whoever finds me out, my slogan is "We ride," right? Because I am riding with the Werehog. Why I'm riding with the Werehog? Because in some ways I feel I am the Werehog, and I love the Werehog. So, you know, that's who I am. That's who I be, and you know, um, whoever finds me out, we shall see. We shall see. You've been riding with the Werehog, and we ride.